Have you ever woken up in the morning and felt like your body just isn't as strong as it used to be? Maybe you've noticed little things, like taking a bit longer to get out of bed, or feeling winded after a walk that used to be easy. It's not just you. As we get older, our bodies change, and sometimes it feels like those changes happen overnight. But here's the good news. Just because we age doesn't mean we have to accept feeling run down or unwell. In fact, there are simple, practical steps we can take to stay vibrant, healthy, and full of life well into our golden years. Today, we're going to talk about something important, something that might just change the way you think about aging. After 75, 99% of deaths happen for 5 main reasons. That might sound a little scary, but stay with me, because the real story here isn't about fear. It's about power. The power to understand these risks and, more importantly, the power to avoid them. You have so much more control over your health than you might realize, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to take charge. Now, let's start with the first big reason people face health challenges later in life: heart disease. It's the leading cause of death for seniors, but here's the thing, it's also one of the most preventable. You might think heart health is all about complicated diets or intense workouts, but it's really about small, consistent choices. For example, did you know that just 30 minutes of gentle walking a day can cut your risk of heart disease by nearly half? And it doesn't have to be all at once. A 10-minute stroll in the morning, another after lunch, and one more in the evening, that's all it takes. The key is movement, and the best part? It's never too late to start. Another simple habit? Adding more color to your plate. No, I'm not talking about candy. I mean fruits and vegetables. Deep greens, bright oranges, rich reds. These foods are packed with nutrients that keep your heart strong. Think of it like this. Every time you choose a handful of berries over a bag of chips, or a plate of steamed veggies over a heavy, greasy meal, you're giving your heart a little gift. And those gifts add up over time. Now, let's talk about the second big reason: respiratory diseases, like pneumonia and COPD. These can be especially tough as we get older, but there are ways to protect yourself. One of the easiest: washing your hands regularly. It sounds simple, but it's one of the most effective ways to avoid infections that can turn serious. And if you've ever smoked, or even if you just live in an area with poor air quality, consider talking to your doctor about lung health. Something as straightforward as breathing exercises, inhaling deeply through your nose, exhaling slowly through your mouth, can make a big difference in keeping your lungs strong. But here's something many people don't think about: staying hydrated. Dry airways are more vulnerable to irritation and infection, so drinking enough water isn't just good for your skin or energy levels, it's a shield for your lungs. Try keeping a glass of water by your bedside, or sipping on herbal tea throughout the day. Small habits, big protection. Now, before we move on, I want you to take a moment and think about this. Every single step we've talked about so far is within your reach. You don't need fancy equipment or expensive treatments. Just a little awareness, a little effort, and the willingness to make small changes that add up to a healthier, happier life. And the best part? We're just getting started. Next, we'll dive into the third major reason, something that surprises a lot of people, and the simple, everyday choices that can help you avoid it. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. You know, one of the most surprising things about getting older is realizing how much we take for granted when we're young. Things like balance, coordination, even just getting up from a chair without thinking about it. But here's something that might surprise you. The third biggest reason people face serious health issues after 75 isn't what you'd expect. It's not heart disease or lung problems. It's falls. That's right. Falls are one of the leading causes of injury and even death among seniors, but here's the good news. They're also one of the easiest things to prevent. Now, you might be thinking, I'm careful. I won't fall. But the truth is, it's not just about being careful. As we age, our balance naturally isn't what it used to be. Our muscles weaken a little, our reflexes slow down, and even small things, like a loose rug or a dimly lit hallway, can become hazards. But that doesn't mean we have to live in fear. There are simple, everyday things we can do to stay steady on our feet. First, let's talk about strength. You don't need to lift heavy weights or run marathons to keep your legs strong. Just a few basic exercises, like standing up from a chair and sitting back down, slowly and with control, can make a world of difference. Try doing this 5 times in a row while watching TV. Or practice standing on one foot, hold onto a counter if you need to, for a few seconds each day. These little movements rebuild the muscles that keep you stable, and the best part? You can do them anytime, anywhere. Next, take a look around your home. Are there throw rugs that slide around? Clutter on the floor? Poor lighting in hallways or staircases? These are easy fixes. Secure rugs with non-slip pads, keep walkways clear, and add nightlights in dark areas. It's amazing how small changes like these can turn a risky space into a safe one. And if you ever feel unsteady, don't hesitate to use a cane or walker. There's no shame in it. In fact, it's a smart way to stay independent longer. Now, let's move on to the fourth big reason: strokes. They can happen suddenly, and the effects can be life-changing. But just like with heart disease, many strokes are preventable. The key: managing your blood pressure. High blood pressure is often called the silent killer because it doesn't always have symptoms, but it's one of the biggest risk factors for strokes. So, what can you do? First, get your blood pressure checked regularly. If it's high, work with your doctor to manage it, whether that's with medication, diet, or lifestyle changes. Speaking of diet, reducing salt can make a huge difference. Instead of reaching for the salt shaker, try flavoring your food with herbs and spices. Garlic, lemon, basil, these aren't just tasty, they're good for you. Another simple tip: stay active. We talked earlier about how walking helps your heart, but it's also great for your circulation and blood pressure. And if you're sitting for long periods, make a habit of stretching your legs every hour. Set a little reminder if you need to. It's all about keeping that blood flowing smoothly. Now, here's something else that plays a bigger role in strokes than most people realize: stress. Chronic stress can raise your blood pressure over time, so finding ways to relax isn't just about feeling good, it's about protecting your health. Maybe for you, that's listening to music, gardening, or spending time with loved ones. Whatever helps you unwind, make time for it. Your body will thank you. We've covered a lot so far: heart disease, respiratory risks, falls, and strokes. And if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, that's okay. You don't have to tackle everything at once. Just pick one or two small changes to focus on this week. Maybe it's adding an extra vegetable to your dinner or doing those chair stands we talked about. Progress, not perfection, is what matters. And when you're ready, we'll dive into the fifth and final reason, along with the best ways to outsmart it. Trust me, this one might just be the most important of all. Now, we've been talking about some pretty serious health risks today, but I want you to remember something important. Knowledge isn't meant to scare us. It's meant to empower us. And that brings us to the fifth and final major health concern we need to discuss: dementia and cognitive decline. This one hits close to home for so many of us, whether we've watched a loved one struggle with memory loss or worried about it ourselves. But here's what you should know: while some factors are out of our control, there's actually a lot we can do to keep our minds sharp and reduce our risks. Let's start with something simple that you're already doing right now: learning. Every time you challenge your brain by learning something new, whether it's watching an educational video like this one, doing a crossword puzzle, or even trying a new recipe, you're building what scientists call cognitive reserve. Think of it like a savings account for your brain. The more you put in now, the more you'll have to draw from later. And the best part? It's never too late to start. Maybe you've always wanted to learn how to play chess or speak a few phrases of Italian. Why not start today? Your brain will thank you. Now, let's talk about something that might surprise you: how much your social life affects your brain health. Did you know that people who stay socially active have a significantly lower risk of developing dementia? It's true. And I'm not talking about having hundreds of friends or going to big parties. Even simple, regular conversations with neighbors, family members, or fellow hobbyists can make a big difference. If you've been feeling isolated lately, consider joining a book club at your local library, attending community events, or even just making it a habit to chat with the cashier at your grocery store. These small connections aren't just good for your mood, they're like exercise for your brain. Here's another powerful tool for maintaining cognitive health: sleep. As we age, many of us find it harder to get a good night's rest, but quality sleep is crucial for brain health. During deep sleep, your brain actually cleans out toxins that can contribute to cognitive decline. If you're having trouble sleeping, try establishing a calming bedtime routine. Maybe it's drinking a cup of caffeine-free tea, reading a book, not on a screen, or listening to soft music. And if you nap during the day, try to keep it short, about 20 to 30 minutes, so it doesn't interfere with your nighttime sleep. Now, let's talk about food, because what you eat directly affects how your brain functions. You've probably heard about the Mediterranean diet, and for good reason. Research shows that people who follow this way of eating, lots of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, fish, and healthy fats like olive oil, tend to have better cognitive function as they age. But you don't need to completely overhaul your diet overnight. Start with small changes, like swapping out butter for olive oil when you cook, or adding a serving of leafy greens to your meals a few times a week. Even adding a handful of nuts as a snack can make a difference. They're packed with healthy fats that your brain loves. Physical activity is just as important for your brain as it is for your heart. Remember how we talked earlier about walking being great for your cardiovascular health? Well, it turns out that same regular, gentle exercise helps maintain blood flow to your brain and can even stimulate the growth of new brain cells. If walking isn't your thing, consider water aerobics, tai chi, or even just dancing around your living room to your favorite music. The key is to find something you enjoy so you'll stick with it. Now, before we move on to our final thoughts, I want to address something important. If you're hearing all this and thinking, but I've already noticed some memory lapses, please don't panic. Occasional forgetfulness is normal at any age. What we're talking about here is significant, persistent cognitive decline. And the good news is that by implementing these strategies, you're taking proactive steps to protect your brain health. We've covered so much ground today, from heart health to preventing falls, from stroke prevention to keeping your mind sharp. And I know it might feel like a lot to take in. But here's what I want you to remember. Every positive choice you make, no matter how small, is a step toward a healthier, more vibrant future. You don't have to be perfect, just consistent. And in our final segment, we'll bring it all together with some simple, practical ways to make these healthy habits stick in your daily life. As we come to the end of our conversation today, I want you to take a deep breath with me. Inhale slowly and exhale. Feel that? That's you, alive, present, and capable of making powerful changes at any age. We've covered 5 major health concerns today, but more importantly, we've uncovered dozens of simple, practical ways you can take charge of your well-being starting right now. Let's take a quick moment to reflect on what we've learned. First, we talked about heart health, how gentle movement and colorful foods can keep your strongest muscle pumping for years to come. Then we discussed protecting your lungs through good hygiene and staying hydrated. We covered how preventing falls is often as simple as strengthening your legs and making small adjustments at home. Stroke prevention came down to managing blood pressure and reducing stress. And finally, we explored how keeping your mind sharp might be as enjoyable as learning new things and staying socially connected. But here's what I really want you to remember. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. In fact, the most lasting changes happen through small, consistent steps. Maybe today you'll decide to park a little farther from the store to get extra steps in. Perhaps tomorrow you'll swap your afternoon cookie for some fresh berries. Next week, you might call an old friend you haven't spoken to in a while. These aren't just random acts, they're powerful choices that add up to a healthier, happier you. I want to share a quick story about a viewer named Margaret. At 78, she wrote to me saying she felt like her best years were behind her. But after making just one small change, adding a 10-minute walk after breakfast each morning, she found herself with more energy, better sleep, and even struck up conversations with neighbors she'd never met before. That single small habit created ripple effects throughout her life. And that's what I hope for you. Not a complete transformation, but a series of small wins that make each day a little brighter, a little healthier. Now, I'd love to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me, what's one small change you're excited to try this week? Maybe it's something we discussed today, or perhaps you have your own healthy habit you'd like to share. Your experiences matter, and they might just inspire someone else watching. If you found this video helpful, do me a favor, tap that like button. It helps more people find this important information. And if you're not already subscribed, I'd be honored to have you join our community. Every week, we share practical tips and uplifting conversations about thriving at any age. Before we go, I want to leave you with this thought. Aging isn't about counting the years, but about making the years count. Your story isn't finished yet. In fact, some of your most vibrant chapters could still be ahead. So here's to your health, your happiness, and to living each day with purpose and joy. Until next time, remember, you've got this, and I'm cheering you on every step of the way.